It is your boy T with another Have You Seen That with T movie review, and today I'm reviewing Saw Patrol. Yes, you heard me. I said Saw Patrol. So this weekend was Saw X and Paw Patrol, not Barbenheimer, but it is Saw Patrol. This was a fantastic weekend for me as I took my kids to go see Paw Patrol, and that movie would be the movie I review first. The Paw Patrol was a perfect kids movie. It was a great kids movie. My son loves Paw Patrol. He's 5 years old. He watches every episode of Paw Patrol on Paramount Plus, and he was just super excited to go see Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie or the Mighty Pups, whatever the name of the movie was. He was super excited to go see it, and we went and checked it out, and it was just a very straightforward Paw Patrol movie, exactly what you would expect walking into a movie with the Paw Patrol in it. They get superpowers from a meteor, they fight a villain, and they beat the villain. No spoilers there. You know Paw Patrol ain't losing. This isn't a two-part arc. They're not gonna leave us on a cliffhanger with Paw Patrol, on the side of a mountain as a huge dam of gets blown up. We're not doing that with Paw Patrol. The pups look cute. They say funny things. They say cute things, and they beat up bad guys. Case closed. Now going into the meat and potatoes of this review, we got Saw X, right? So Saw hasn't been good for a very long time. Spiral, the Book of Saw, whatever the name of that movie was with Chris Rock, was an abomination. Like that movie, once again, it led us to believe we were gonna go back to the essence of Saw and bring it back with that Spiral movie because you have a big name star like Chris Rock in it, and that movie just fell flat on its face. Why? Because I think it focused on the wrong things. And I learned that by watching Saw X or Saw 10, whatever you want to call it. Tobin Bell's back as John Kramer. And this movie is kind of not a prequel, but it happens somewhere in between Saw 2 and 3, where John Kramer and Amanda are still alive. And they go out to, John Kramer's still battling that you know, strong form of cancer, like the incurable form of cancer, and he gets word. He goes to one of the survivors groups and he sees one of the guys there, and he sees the guy on the street like 2 weeks later or a month later or something like that, and the guy seems fully healed, and he shows him his scar. He says, these guys in Sweden are doing this like cutting edge these medical procedures. So he goes out there, he contacts them, he gets in touch with this medical team, and they quote unquote cure John Kramer of his cancer, right? And of course, he finds out that they lied to him. It was a money scheme. They were scheming these dying patients, which is terrible, by the way. Like that's a terrible thing to do, especially to people, who only have money and a little bit of time left. So of course, they're gonna spend their money to try to get more time. And they dupe John Kramer, and of course he is Jigsaw. The world knows this, or at least we know this, that he's Jigsaw. And he acts as revenge in a way only Jigsaw can. And he puts these people who got over on him, through these series of tests in which they can survive, right? Technically, in all of the Saw games, you make a choice to survive, whether you're not surviving unscathed, right? You're gonna lose an arm, you're gonna lose a leg, whatever the case may be. If you do survive, you'll live to tell the tale, and you'll also learn something from it, right? And of course, that is heavy handed in this movie, right? You do bad things are going to happen to you. And what I loved about this movie was the fact that John Kramer was back. The issue I have with the other Saw movies is they turn them into whodunits, right? They turn them into somewhat slasher movies where you're trying to figure out who the killer is, right? And it never works. Other than the first Saw, and maybe the second Saw where Amanda comes into play, like it just doesn't work, right? We don't care who the killer is. We just want the killer to be someone compelling. Constance Mandalore, When he was the cop killer at the end of, I think it was Saw 4, I think he was the killer at the end of, nobody cared. Like it was a cool moment at the end of that movie, but like he wasn't a compelling person. He just seemed like an evil person, right? There was no meat to his story. There was no like there was no meaning behind the story other than he was a jigsaw disciple, which nobody cares about disciples. Like in all, like nobody cares about people's underlings, right? If the story took place, if those original stories took place in say Philadelphia or something like that, which I think they do. I can't remember where. Maybe L.A. Who knows? Um, I don't really remember where the stories take place, but if there was a jigsaw killer in the middle of Iowa, right? And I don't care. Like you can introduce the killer at the end of the beginning of the movie. Like we don't need another like who done it. I think that's where the Saw movies mistook things. What Saw X does really well is it brings us into John Kramer's world, right? We don't know exactly. We know why he do it. We know why he does what he does. But it humanizes him a little bit more because we realize that like he really is getting back at these people who did wrong things. And the villain, like the bad people in this movie are these doctor, like the doctor, the head doctor, female doctor. She's a terrible person, right? She's a terrible person, and one of my downsides in this movie is towards the end, there's like this huge plot hole that happens to me at least. There's this huge plot point in which the bad person gets the upper hand on John Kramer, and I just didn't understand how like spoiler. I'm gonna just say this before I move on. Just a spoiler, the bad person, the female doctor, knew that John Kramer was Jigsaw. That didn't make any sense to me. I think that was my only gripe with the entire movie was the fact that she just like threw away that line, towards the end of the movie, Jigsaw, John Kramer, I got the better of you because at some point the tables get turned. And I wondered how she knew that he was John Kramer. Like he was moving around, he was still getting treatment. Like, why would anybody treat the Jigsaw killer? Like, why would any hospital, not put him in jail? Like, that didn't make any sense to me. Like, she's not that good of a doctor. She's not that good of a detective to know that this person was Jigsaw. Like that, like she could have put it together, like because now, you know, and maybe she did. Maybe she put it together because they were Jigsaw style killings, even though they were in a completely different country. Um, you know, I'm assuming that made news, so I guess that makes sense now. I guess I just made sense of it because she called them out like John Kramer. I knew you were Jigsaw. Like she said in the movie that she knew he was Jigsaw um, before she gave him the procedure. So I just wonder how she knew that he was Jigsaw before she gave him the procedure. At the end of this movie, the bad guys all got what they deserved. John Kramer kind of got his, walk off in the sunset, so to speak, even though we know what's going to happen to him. I just really wish they never killed that character. I think they painted themselves in such a hole because Tobin Bell was amazing in this movie. Like this was probably top three Saws of all times to me. I enjoy, of course, Saw 1, iconic, right? You're never going to make a better Saw movie than the original Saw. Saw 2 was really good. Saw 3 is where it started going downhill. And then you got, Saw 1, Saw 2, and then Saw X in my book. Those and X and 2 could be interchangeable. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that it pulled me back into that world of Saw. It was very gory, it's very bloody. That didn't it wasn't too much to me. It was a lot. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of blood, a lot of gore. Those games were very, very disturbing. But at the same time, I think the story outshone. Like it stopped being about the story, after Saw 3. It started more being more about the gruesome kills, right? We don't care about a story. We don't care about the killer. We just care about these gruesome kills. And I think that the killings weren't that inventive in this one, but the story itself. was very intriguing. The story was very compelling. What happened, and it was a shot at some big pharma. Because this happens a lot with a lot of these, patients, because, you have these doctors who are out there telling them that they're going to give them a miracle cure. They got some cutting edge things going on, but like it's all placebo, right? Like everything they do, and they do procedures, but like a lot of the procedures, they're not sure if they're gonna work, but they're definitely gonna take your money, right? So Jigsaw got back for the little guys, I guess you could say. But other than that, I really enjoyed Saw X. I really enjoyed this movie. It really brought me back to the reason why I loved Saw to begin with, and it was because of Jigsaw, right? The original Jigsaw was such a compelling character. And every time they try to replicate that with a different person, it just doesn't work because nobody cares about these characters. Like being an evil person isn't the reason why you love Jigsaw. Like Jigsaw does evil deeds, but he's not an inherently evil person, right? There was a reason behind a lot of the things that he did. Then you got that classic score, which I still love to this day. I love it at the very end where it reaches its crescendo, and we didn't. I don't think we got a game over at the end of this one. Maybe we did. I can't remember. The mic drop moment, or we closes the door on the bad guy. Game over. I love like they. It's just iconic with that iconic score. I really enjoyed this movie. I can't wait for this to come out on streaming, so I can watch it again. Not a movie I think I wouldn't go to the theater to watch it again, but I do implore you, if you haven't seen it in the theater, if you're a horror person, if you're a Saw fan, if you enjoyed the first few Saw movies, you'll definitely enjoy Saw 10. It's definitely worth your time. Definitely worth the time and effort to go check this out. I haven't felt this excited about a Saw movie since Saw 2. I always had the excitement going into those movies and always felt let down after Saw 2. But this one really, all of the missteps and spiral, this one got it right. This one got exactly, the story right, how it should have been told. I think the Saw before that, Saw 8, the one that was a prequel as well. I thought that one was very serviceable, but this one just got the story perfect. And bringing back Jigsaw for one more run, I thought that was fantastic, and it just made me realize how important Tobin Bell is to that franchise. There is no Saw franchise without Tobin Bell. He is a perfect villain. He's a perfect bad guy. He's the perfect, person that could have carried this franchise if they wouldn't have killed him. If he could have kept going, even if he had disciples, just him being there, and Shawnee Smith, her Amanda character, the interactions those two had with each other, it worked really well in this movie. And I really feel bad that they killed that character, because I think that we wouldn't have got so many stinkers of Saw movies if we still had Jigsaw. If he could have kept getting away. We don't need a supernatural. We don't need that, but we just needed, the person with the master plan, who is a very compelling villain in Tobin Bell, John Kramer, to continue to carry on with the movies. I don't care if they retcon it all. I don't care if they say Saw 3, Saw 4, all of those other Saw movies were a dream. I'm okay with that. Just bring John Kramer back for the next one. Just keep bringing him back until Tobin Bell doesn't want to do these movies anymore. And I'll definitely go see him again. I'm probably going to go see him anyway. But yeah, if they keep bringing Tobin Bell back, I think we'll get better movies with a better character, with a better reason why he's doing what he's doing, because the other guys were not it. Constance Mandalore was not it. Um, there is one post-credit scene. It's kind of a mid-credit scene somewhere in there, and it kind of tied up some loose ends. But this is just a phenomenal movie. I really enjoy Saw X, and I think you will too. If you've already seen the movie, let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Did you think it was terrible? Did you think it was worse than Spiral? Did you like Spiral? I don't know too many people who like that Spiral movie. I thought it was just terrible. I thought that movie was an abomination of a movie, and it was kind of a slap in the face of all of the people who enjoy the Saw movies. But once again, it's your boy T. Definitely like and subscribe to the Have You Seen That with T movie channel. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your week and get ready for next weekend and go see Paw Patrol and Saw X. Saw Patrol.